Hi, welcome. My name is Amanda. For those of you that are new here, we're going to take a tour of this canning pantry behind me. I'm located in South East Queensland of Australia, and it's unusual in this country to have a panning dedicated room, I suppose, because we don't have cellars here, but we have a lower area in this particular building. I'm in an old farmhouse, and so I do have a lower area where I can store things in the dark as well, and it's much cooler because it's just surrounded by Vesa block. But where I am, I'm in the nook, which is at the end of our kitchen on the old farmhouse, and it used to be a dining room, but I've converted it because I was taking over too many pantries. And so my husband decided that it was a good idea to finally start putting up some shelves for me. And so I was able to fill this room with all of the items that I've been canning for many years, pressure canning for the past year. So I've been adding a lot more newer items to the shelves, especially seafood. So I have some lovely Tasmanian salmon that I have been canning, and I've been doing that now for most of this year, for about 6 or 8 months that I've been doing that. I've had to do that a number of times because it is so good. It's one of the favourite things to have, and definitely standard stock must be on the shelf at all times is my salmon. There's quite a few items here that might be a little bit unusual as well, and there's lots that are changing because it's seasonal. So we're now in spring and summer, so there's a lot more fruits as well. So I'll be water bathing as well once again, and not so much of the pressure canning, although I still will be pressure canning, and I was pressure canning only this morning. But I will also be, can't wait for mangoes. Mangoes need to go on the shelf as soon as possible. They're still really expensive at the moment, around $4 to $5 per mango, and I'm not paying that for fruit, and our fruit trees have not produced again this year. So it's the second year we've not had mangoes. So I need to do something about those fruit trees. Let's have a look around the pantry, and I will go through a few of the items that are a little bit different, I guess. Stock standard, something that I would say is in every canning pantry, are our stocks. Chicken stocks, vegetable stocks, and an onion stock as well, made from some onions that we had grown, and these were the onion skins as well, from brown onions. So some brown onion stocks was made. The last of the veggie stock, these are new jars, and these ones have been pressure canned for 35 minutes for these large quart-sized jars, and they were pressure canned just a couple of weeks ago. So these are the vegetable stocks. Chicken stocks, they're a lot older. They were done in June, so about 4 months ago now, were the chicken stocks, and also the onion stocks were done during winter as well. So did I can all of our onions that we had harvested from the garden. At the time, it was around 20 kilos. They were all pressure canned for 40 minutes back in July, and these are all of our fresh onions for the year. And it was a full shelf. It's no longer a full shelf. There's probably 15, if that, 3, 6, 9, 12 jars. That's all I have left of our fresh onions. So they get used for everything, stocks and soups, and straight on the barbecue, drained, and they caramelise on a barbecue really quickly, so it saves time, money, and gas as well by doing the pressure canning when we have a glut. And then that brings us to the rest of the shelves. So this is the fruit, ideally my fruit section. It is not 100% tidied at the moment. Strawberries. Huge amount of strawberries were canned this past year. They were water bathed, and they're strawberry sauces, so that I can turn them into strawberry jams later, but they can also be used for going on to yogurts or as well as ice creams, etc. So this is just pure strawberry as well as a little bit of sugar, just to preserve them. The sugar preserves the colour. So there's quite a few jars of strawberry sauce, which I'll convert to, like I said, strawberry jam later on. I have recanned some pears, and I've recanned some apples because we don't grow apples or pears. And so in order to have fruit on the shelves for baby food as well as for adding to yogurts, I do recan large cans that I pick up from a factory outlet. So this one's been pureed and then heated back up again, and same as the whole ones behind, and then they've been water bathed. Lemon juices have come from our own citrus trees outside. During winter, we have our lemons that are in full production. Our citrus grove produces a lot of fruit. And so these guys here back in June were all juiced. and popped away so that I had lemon juice throughout the year, because now it's a hot time of year and we make a lot of ginger beer. We need lemons, and lemons are expensive now at this time of year, so it made sense to get rid of some of our lemons that we had a glut of and juice them. So I did do that, water bathed them as well back in July. Peaches are another thing that was re-water bathed, and those ones get used into ice cream. Corn was the first of the sweet corn from the season, which is those ones there. The first of the sweet corn turned into cream corn. The large quart corns are the end of last year's corn. So there are only 3 quarts of corn kernels left over from last year. I have over 50 corn plants in, so I'm hoping, cross fingers, that the possums and other animals don't get to them and I end up with a good 100 cobs of corn, which would be lovely. I've got some carrots done, and I've got some sweet potato as well. These just make it really easy for making a quick meal. So soups, casseroles, on the barbecue, whatever I'm doing, pureed for baby food, etc. Perfect. Just a few extras so that I don't always have to have fresh carrots in stock. I've got lemon butter, we call it. I think it's called lemon curd in other places, but this is lemon butter made with our fresh eggs and our fresh lemons again. And out of all of the lemon butters that I made throughout the year, I have now just 6 jars remaining. So 6 jars is not going to get me through till the next winter, when our lemons are in full produce again, but I'm hoping maybe they will. The jars on the shelf are, say, for 3 months. These are coming up to 2 months old. This one is the oldest jar, so it will need to be used first, and then these ones are newer. So I've got one that needs to be used. The others I've still got a couple of months before I need to worry about them. Pickles, cucumber pickles from the last of the cucumbers, and we've not planted cucumbers this year because we had so many pickles, and I've got lots of jars of pickles that I didn't worry about. I think my husband did put pickles in. I think he did put cucumbers in, unfortunately. He's not the one that has to can them, but he doesn't eat a lot of them either. Pickled onions, ruby grapefruit, raspberry jam, passata, chili oil, something else every time I make a spicy chicken dish and that I've cooked oil using all of the spices. I reserve my oil and it turns it into this gorgeous chili oil, which is avocado oil just filled with about 20 different spices, so it's nice and spicy to add as a flavouring when we're heating up the barbecue or a grill as well. Blueberries and blueberry jam, more strawberry jams, whole strawberries and diced strawberries, because we just had so many strawberries. So just to preserve strawberries later on in case I do run out of strawberry sauce, I've got myself diced pure strawberries that have just been cooked in a light syrup, and then I can turn them into anything I want later on, maybe even into ice cream. I've got the salsa as well up the top there. So that one there is a smoky salsa, but it's a chunky salsa, and it can easily be taken out and blended up and turned into one of these salsas, which is just your typical salsa that's perfectly good for doing dipping of your corn chips. This is actually what we use when we are doing our pizzas, our bases. So not the passata, the spicy salsa. So the spicy salsa was once a chunky salsa, but a hot chunky salsa, and it's been taken out or blended up in a blender so that it's much more dippable, and we now use that one for pizza sauce instead of using a traditional pizza sauce. The passata is just that, passata. Soups, there's Thai green soup, Thai green curry soup, there's a red Thai curry soup, a tomato soup, more Thai soups. There's a potato and pumpkin Thai soup as well. And then there's also, this is a cabbage soup or a depression soup, it's known as well. I just turned off the dehydrator, it was a bit loud. So they are my soups for hopefully the rest of this next few months leading up into what will again be our autumn and our winter again. It's pepper season for us, chili season, sweet pepper season, so I've made up some sweet pepper sauces. These are basically just concentrated capsicums with a bit of vinegar and some salt, turned into a sauce after they've been cooked down. And these get added to pretty much everything you can imagine. And they're shelf stable. They don't need to go in the refrigerator once they've been opened either, because of the level of salt and vinegar in them. More the vinegar than the salt. They don't have a huge amount. The hot chili sauce, that's a seriously hot chili sauce from our habanero and our ghost peppers. So they are seriously hot sauce. Once again, does not need to be refrigerated once it's been opened and it is getting used. It's just a very hot sauce. And there's also a powder that I made from them as well. Again, incredibly hot powder to add to different meals. Now, it is spring, which means finally coleslaw season. So I've been able to get the first of the coleslaw onto the shelves. So that would be enough with the sweet corn, and the potatoes, which I'll show you shortly, will be enough to make salads for barbecues, any meals, without having to be cooking or doing any preparation on a hot day, which it gets very hot here in Queensland. Some more chili jam, another very hot, spicy chili jam, that one as well. Some celery from the garden over winter, because during summer here we get whitefly, and my celery currently is being netted with an insect screen, so hopefully I won't get whitefly and I'll still have some fresh celery. But it gets so hot, the greens bolt at this time of year and go to seed. So as we approach summer, we lose the really greens. Like I've got a lot of lettuce in the garden at the moment, but they won't be there in another few weeks. So we take advantage of the cooler part of our warm weather and try to get as much produce canned and preserved as we can, but we can't preserve fresh lettuce, so we'll just be eating a lot of salads at this time of year. There's salmon. So this is Tassie salmon and rainbow trout. Both of those have been pressure canned for 100 minutes. They're just pure meat that's been packed into the jars and then had just some salt, pepper and some liquid smoke added to them. There is bolognese sauces. Again, great for making a quick meal, because all I have to do is cook up some pasta for 10 minutes and throw in that bolognese sauce. And I've got myself a meal for the family in a very short amount of time. It's also really good as a lasagna base as well. Way up the top is the sweet chili sauces. So our sweet chili sauce, just your standard sweet chili sauce that gets eaten with all of the different wontons, dim sums, you name it, sweet chili sauce as a dipping sauce, perfect to go on top of cream cheese as a dipping sauce over the hot period again. This is our alfresco dining time where we don't spend a lot of time cooking inside. There is sweet dipping sauce beside that as well, and then there is the ugly chicken, which is just pure chicken thighs that have been pressure canned as well. And that can just get shredded up and I don't have to be doing any cooking. So I can literally be taking coleslaw and potatoes and chicken and dips and sauces straight off my shelves, and there's no further cooking, as well as all those beautiful corns. All right, dehydrator's currently got the capsicum skins in them, because I have been pressure canning capsicums today. So it's dehydrating. I've just switched it off because of the noise while I'm filming, but it's got some skins in there as well, so that I can turn them into the powders. Just my typical jars that I use for all of my baking. Then we've got capsicums. Like I said, I have just been finishing doing up some more of the capsicums, because all I had left was 2 jars, 1 quart and 1/2 pint. Oh, sorry, 1 pint and a half pint is all that I had left from last year's capsicums. So I did pretty well getting the right amount canned, but I need to start to prepare again before it gets expensive, because the produce becomes very expensive throughout the year. So especially if there's any storms or anything that affects the farmers, because we're in a part of a salad bowl. So anything that in the Lockyer Valley, for example, if they are affected by floods or storms, it increases the price of the produce massively. So I like to keep things like that in 2 jars while it's economical. Some strawberry jams, taco beef mince is in this one. Again, just needs to come out and get put directly onto tacos with some fresh salad out of the gardens. A couple of baked beans left over from our winter baked beans. They will be perfectly fine come the next winter. I don't think they were all that old. I think they were done in June or July. The hummus, that's all the ingredients for hummus, except for some olive oil. So instead of tahini, it has sesame seeds in it and it simply gets drained. That's a lot of lemon juice in there, so that gets drained off, and this all gets blended up, and then slowly you add your olive oil and some of this additional lemon juice if needed back to it to produce your hummus. So it saves me purchasing hummus, and we go through a lot of hummus. Once again, another dip. Potatoes, I have 4 quarts of potatoes left, but I've got fresh potatoes in the cupboard which have come from the garden, which is perfect. So I, again, do not want to be doing a lot of cooking. It heats the house up, which means we then need to use appliances, which I don't want to do. We've got chutneys, we've got onion jams, we've got some golden pickles, more strawberries, some corn relish, and that's pretty much what's in the fresh canned section. There's the window in between that a lot of people question about how bright my room is here and how it will affect my jars, and I'm going to turn off the light. It's a very dark room, so it doesn't affect having minimal light. I'll turn it back on. Having minimal light in this room is fine. Buffet. Buffet is full of commercial products, things that like beans, tuna, the odd can of tomatoes, some milks, powdered milks, UHT milks, coconut oil, those types of things are kept as well. I do obviously have to purchase certain items, and that's just a few of them. I have all of my containers that are filled with my baking items that are not on my buffet as well. So additional items like ground ginger, my spices, tapioca flours, anything to do with the gluten-free baking is usually over in this side, as well as excess table salts, and then other ingredients are kept in the cupboards. Things that I need to use for my canning, citric acid for whenever I'm doing anything like a tomato-based recipe that may call to increase the acidity level of it. So if I'm doing tomato sauces or salsas, I may need to have citric acid added to it to make it a safe product. The clear gel, I use that whenever I'm thickening something because that's a modified cornstarch, which won't separate under high heat when we're pressure canning. ROD is what I use when I'm making coconut yogurt, which I make every single week. So I usually keep a stock of the ROD. The organic coconut yogurt I still have no use for. I have tried to make coconut yogurt with that, and it was just a disaster. So I guess, I don't know, I don't even want to put it in soup. I'm not happy with that product at all. Items that get regularly used in exchange for similar items for people that have got dietary issues: coconut sugar, although it's no more healthy than normal sugar, and sugar is not healthy, but at least it's coconut sugar. It gives a really nice caramel taste. Okay, that's the reason I prefer sometimes to use the coconut sugar. Buttermilk powder, I use that a lot in my jar mixes. The vanilla powder, instead of having the vanilla bean paste, there is dehydrated powder for those of us that like to make up our jar mixes of things, which I do, like pancake mix and things like that. It gets the vanilla powder in it. The xanthan gum gets used for when I make my gluten-free breads. So it is my gluten sort of product that gets added to the gluten bread. Psyllium husks get adding to bread once again. So there's a lot of baking ingredients in here, as well as lots of herbs and different products like mushrooms, etc., that have been dehydrated from the garden. The maple flavour, that's for making lots of things, including maple syrup, which we've got some beautiful maple syrup that I've made up as well in the past, and some caramel sauce. It's also going to be used for bacon when I do up some bacon later, hopefully next week. I'm just waiting on some cure to arrive, which is not available here at the moment. The molasses gets used for whenever I'm doing brown sugar, and we do use a fair bit of brown sugar, so I use molasses for that. And I've also got my bananas, which have been dehydrated and they're really crunchy, which is perfect. And so they get ground into a powder whenever I'm doing a banana bread or pancakes or something that I want to add a banana flavour to. So they're my crispy bananas. They take some time to get to that stage. And there are some absorbent, oxygen absorbents, little packets in there as well that can go inside some of the jars. We've got green onion powder, we've got parsley, mushroom powder, rosemary, sliced green onions, garlic and ginger and garlic, and onion powders, as well as bay leaves from the trees outside. And behind the coleslaw, while I had the stove on at the time and I was cooking coleslaw and I had was using the elements, I've made up some additional brine. The brine is what we use in our coleslaws afterwards before they go into their jars. So you need to do a brine, and the brine is sugar and vinegar. So while I had the stove on, I made up some additional brines ready. So it's 2 litres, 2 quarts. So that's ready for the next lot of coleslaw that I'll do in a week or so's time, and have, or maybe a couple of weeks' time, I'll space them out so we've got coleslaw for a little bit longer. It depends how fast we go through it. We've already had a fresh bowl of coleslaw 2 days ago when this was made, and I already have got another jar in the refrigerator. So it won't last very long. 8 jars, 10 jars is not going to last very long at all before we even get into, you know, the celebration period of Christmas, those types of times of year. So, lots of gadgets and gadgets. I love gadgets and gadgets. The more the better. So this is used for my sauce pouring. For these guys, for getting them into bottles is what this guy's for. It is brilliant. So no needing funnels or making a mess or anything. That's a pancake batter dispenser. And again, that's perfect for doing sauces as well as jams and things like lemon butter. Kitchen timers. Got to have kitchen timers. Got to have scales. Dissolvable food labels, lots of bowls, lots of different accessories, and then the drawers are filled with everything else that you could possibly need, all of your extra lids, tops and preserving jars and things like that. So it is just a standard working pantry, but it works really well. Resources and lots of different, this is a big water bath canner, very big water bath canner. But it gets used for when I'm doing big batches. I can fit a lot in that big canner. That's a standard water bath canner above it, and my veggie basket. So the big one down the bottom is usually should be used outside on the gas burner, but I have used it a couple of times in the induction stove, but it gets very, very heavy. Easy to preserve book is where I get a lot of my times from. I do a lot of baking as well, so I have a lot of baking accessories as well. And I have quite a large resource of different books from places like Ball, for example, different preservation guides. Some of these books go back 20 plus years. So like this one here, the Jam and Chutney, this is where my sweet chili sauce comes from. So there's certain books that have been around for a very long time that I'm still utilising as well. And then there's a vacuum sealer, which is what I'm using for the guacamole. So in my cupboard is Hubert. Hubert's our guacamole experiment. So he's vacuum sealed, and according to the manufacturer of the vacuum sealer, you could make guacamole, and they gave me a recipe and everything, and store it in the shelf in a cool, dark place for up to 12 months, according to the American Food Standards. That is what they quoted. I highly suspect that's not the case. Let me get out his sibling, which is in the refrigerator. Both made on the same day. This one's been kept in the refrigerator. This one's just been kept in the cupboard. He's starting to change quite a bit now. Well, it looks on film like he's changing quite a bit, whereas to look at him or look at it, it doesn't seem like a huge amount of difference. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't think this is particularly bad. I'm pretty sure it's not edible, but that's just me, and my pug is barking behind me. I'm pretty sure that it's maybe sour or just unpleasant to eat. I know these are still good because I've been trying them. Okay, on to our herbs and spices, and there are a few of them because I use them for everything because I cook from scratch. So all of the herbs are ground from the garden. If we can't grow them, then we purchase them in bulk. If I can make them, I will make them. So I make things like onion, salt, garlic powder, things like that from our own produce that has been dried, and if I can't grow it, then I will source it locally as well. Lots of additional different products that are used all through the cooking as well, and so everything I purchase, I tend to purchase in larger quantities, and they're all usually in kilo packs, and then I break them down into smaller quantities that I'm using, things like stock powders and things like that have not even been opened yet because I've just had so much other produce that I've not needed to do it. So that's part of the pantry as well, and that's just all of the spices. So the main kitchen pantry, just your standard double door pantry, is just full of things like cereals that I can't make, 2-minute noodles, although I think there is a pack down here because I do a shop at Costco once every few months. I try to aim for every 3 months, and I try to shop at factory outlets for other items that I can't purchase. If I'm buying produce, so something like the capsicums or anything that we were using that I didn't have growing in the gardens for the coleslaw, for example. I had shallots, but that was the only thing, and I'd waited all year for the cabbage because we got white fly here as well as fruit fly, and the white cabbage moth always attacks our cabbages, and so I don't grow them here. There's just no point to it at this time of year. During winter we can grow kale and things like that, but we don't even attempt to grow normal cabbages. I can grow purple cabbage. For some reason they don't seem to be as interested in them. But all of these types of produce I will travel to a market for, so either locally or in the case of these ones I went out to Rockley, which was a huge big produce market for us, and we were doing a road trip and we were going in that direction, so I didn't mind making the extra trip to pick up the items that I needed specifically to do the coleslaw, as well as the additional ones to make the capsicum sauce, because this stuff is like gold. So this is like a concentrated capsicum. So when I don't have any jars of capsicum, for example, and I want to make a tomato soup or a yummy salad, a seafood salad in particular that has like a tomato dress, this gets added to it as well. So this is like concentrated pure capsicums, and these are nowhere near going to be enough. I'll have to make an extra batch of them. So again, waiting on the capsicums to be at a better price as well. They were a pretty good price, but I've bought them for less when I've had to. And we grew so many beautiful bullhorn capsicums in the garden, but I used them all for other things. And so sadly, I didn't have any left over or enough left over to turn into this. I'm trying to think what I used all of the bullhorns for. I definitely used them for something, but I didn't have enough left for this purpose. So the chilies that are growing in the garden now are cayennes, habaneros, jalapenos, ghosts, and some other evil the ties, the little ties as well. And then my husband's got some really Reaper. That's it, the Reaper chilies. He's got those growing as well. He's got this thing for growing the really hot chilies, and then I get to make the sauces. So I've got a really good recipe for making no-touch chili sauce, and it's exactly the same way that I make these ones as well. So with just the pure fruit, some salt and vinegar, and that's all, and they're all cooked down, but then they need to be processed, and the processing part is a little bit more going through. I go through a tomato juicer first, and then I go through a fine sieve and eventually end up with this beautiful product, which keeps this colour all year round until it's completely gone. And with Christmas coming up, perfect for gifting. So that's where I'm at the moment, is doing some gifts for Christmas and doing up some jars of some much loved things like jams and things like that. I think they're a better gift to give, as well as maybe some bakeware for some of the younger next generation family members as well, and possibly even a set of the canning jars to maybe entice them into doing some additional canning for themselves as well, instead of relying on me to do it all. But, you know, I do like doing it. So that's a bit of a tour around the Canning Pantry here in Australia in South East Queensland. That's 30 plus degrees outside and absolutely beautiful inside in this beautiful old farmhouse, which I'm pretty lucky to live here. Thanks very much for watching me. I hope you've enjoyed that. Any questions about any of the produce on the shelves, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I will turn the dehydrator back on because I've been waiting for a while to do some of the capsicum skins, dehydrate them down to turn them into a paprika powder when I just need to add a little bit of chili. There's a few chilies in there as well. All right, thanks very much for joining me, guys. Bye now.